Welcome to Texas Christian University. It's great to have all of you here tonight to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the Neeley School. Big occasion on our campus. It's going to be a wonderful evening. Tonight, we're starting a 2-year celebration leading up to the 75th anniversary in May 2013 of the permanent founding of our School of Business here at Texas Christian University. We thank you for your attendance and especially for your support tonight. It's such an exciting time to be part of the TCU family and especially a part of the Neeley School of Business. I'm so proud of the accomplishments of our faculty and staff in Neeley, and most of all, I'm proud of their commitment to our students. This is really a hallmark, I think, of TCU and has been a hallmark of our College of Business for 75 years now. It's quite gratifying to look in the audience and see so many alums who I know appreciated the education they received at TCU and the Neeley School. I know we have several members of the Neeley International Board of Visitors and the Neeley Executive Board with us tonight. Would you please stand if you're a member of either of those boards so that we may express our support for you. Thank you for being here. And now it's my great pleasure to welcome to the stage the John V. Roach Dean of the Neeley School of Business, our great Dean, Dr. Homer Erickson. Homer?
Thank you, Chancellor Buschini. We're honored and privileged tonight to have so many alumni and friends with us in this kickoff celebration leading to the 75 years of business, not as usual. Indeed, we go well beyond just teaching business fundamentals in the Neeley School. We're committed to building an ever more significant national business school, and at the heart of all of our programs is the close relationship between our students and our faculty and staff. It's more than business, it's personal. As we begin this kickoff celebration, I'd like to recognize Dr. Robert Lush, who holds the James and Pamela Muzzy Chair in Entrepreneurship at the University of Arizona, and he served as Dean of the Neeley School from 2000 to 2004. He was instrumental in beginning the climb of the Neeley School to national prominence. Bob, would you please stand and be recognized? Our 75th Diamond Anniversary provides an opportunity to celebrate Neeley's successful past and to look forward to a bold new future. With this evening's program, I hope you will come to appreciate just how appropriate is our theme of business, not as usual. Neeley takes a unique approach with our students. When a TCU student joins the Neeley School of Business, they begin a lifetime journey that goes far beyond the handshake at graduation. It's all about being personal, connected, and real. We're committed to developing ethical leaders with a global perspective who help shape the business environment. We develop and disseminate leading-edge thought in order to improve the practice of business. And I'm so proud of our faculty and staff whose dedication to excellence has resulted in the Neeley School being recognized as a premier business school in many different venues. For instance, the undergraduate program this year was ranked by Bloomberg Businessweek as the 29th best undergraduate business program in the nation. The MBA program was recognized by U.S. News & World Report as having made the most significant improvement of any MBA program in the country this year. And the United States Association for Small Business and Entrepreneurship ranked our undergraduate entrepreneurship program this year as the #1 program in the country. Indeed, something very special happens at the Neeley School as we make sure that Neeley graduates are radical, trailblazing business leaders uniquely positioned to make their mark in the world. With that being said, let's get the evening started. I want to invite you to sit back and enjoy a brief overview of the Neeley School.
What's the difference between a good business school and a great one? Some would say it's the faculty, others national rankings, or a network of successful alumni. At Neeley, we're extremely proud of our acclaimed faculty, our consistent national rankings, and our influential alumni. But in the end, the true measure of the quality of a business school is whether it meets your needs. At Neeley, we measure success one inspired mind at a time.
The School of Business opened in 1884. It became the Department of Business Administration in 1922 and later became the School of Business in 1938, the first year it offered an MBA degree. In 1938, the undergraduate degree offered by the School of Business was the Bachelor of Science in Commerce, with a major selected from accounting, business administration, finance, insurance, secretarial sciences, and transportation and public utilities. The School of Business was named for M.J. Neeley in honor of his 25 years of service on the TCU Board of Trustees and financial contributions to TCU.
My favorite Neeley professor is Dr. Ray Pfeiffer in the accounting department, and he always encouraged us to explore new ideas in the classroom and beyond, and I think it helped me really to see a little bit more outside the box.
One of my favorite professors in the Neeley School is Dr. Stuart Youngblood. He taught my Foundations of Leadership course last semester. It was during this course that he really kind of took his life experiences and shared them with us, and we were really able to gain an insight into what leadership meant to him.
The MAC program is, it stands for Masters of Accounting, and it's a one-year graduate degree. Through the MAC program, we had a chance to study abroad in Europe over Christmas break. We spent a week in Paris and a week in London, and we got 3 hours credit for it. It was also a really good time to bond with our classmates and get to know our teachers outside of class.
Neeley is a great place to work. We get to be a part of who the students are and what they will become. The faculty and staff work together, and we really try to make a difference in the students' lives.
You know, one of the things that people wonder about is why do we do leadership? Why do we emphasize leadership? And I really think it's a lot of who we are. We want to put our students out into a position to really succeed, and not just succeed, but to lead others into that success. We push leadership skills in the Neeley School, from clubs, which we have 14 of, to special programmings like the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Next Generation Leadership Program, like our Neeley Fellows, which is Business Honors, EIF, Educational Investment Fund, where they manage $1.5 million real money. So everything's really designed to build that student with a set of skills, one of which is leadership, so that they can excel when they get out into the workplace.
We've got so many fabulous businesses around in this area that part of the value of that whole graduate education is making those kind of connections. So just this year, our MBAs have had the opportunity to have dinner with, sit down and talk with Ross Perot Jr., executives from Compass, executives from Lockheed, and we do that each year. There will be 8 people each year that they will sit down and have dinner with. And then, of course, they also had lunch with Warren Buffett. A very fundamental part of our mission here at the school is to both develop and disseminate leading-edge thought about business. And its purpose then is to improve both the education of business, but also the practice of business. And indicative of how important this is to us is that we have now 5 faculty members who are editors of leading-edge journals, academic journals in their fields.
And what a story this is for this school of 9,000 down in Fort Worth, Texas. It's a private school, outstanding school of business.
Business not as usual. Since its early days, the Neeley School has been about forging relationships between students, faculty and staff, and the business community. Some say it's easy to build a great business school. All you need are great faculty and staff, great students, great programs, great facilities, and resources to fuel the vision. We believe at the Neeley School that we have a competitive advantage nationally in each of these dimensions. But the most important resource of all are all of you. As we begin the celebration of the 75th anniversary of the Neeley School, each of you can help us live our motto. It's more than business, it's personal. Fundamentally, the mission of the Neeley School is to develop ethical leaders with a global perspective who help shape the business environment. In every day and in every way, we are committed to preparing our students, whether on the first job or later in the boardroom, to stand and deliver.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
We're ready.
Well, I hope you're ready for a great evening. I definitely am. And you know, events like this don't just happen. It takes a lot of people who do a lot of planning. And tonight, before we have dinner, I do want to recognize one person who has really led the planning. You've heard from her many times probably, and she's really put this all together. Genya Felder. Genya, would you come up here, please? So, come on up. You know, very much in her style, she said, Homer, it's off script. So anyway. Please join me in a round of applause as I welcome the chair of tonight's dinner committee, one of Neeley's most dedicated volunteers, a 96 undergraduate from TCU and a 2005 MBA of the Neeley School, Brad Wallace. Brad?
Thank you, Homer. It's been a pleasure to chair this kickoff event. I would like to honor and recognize the dinner committee that graciously took their time to help plan for tonight's event. If you guys could please stand, be recognized. We'd also like to express our sincerest thanks to the companies and sponsors represented tonight. We have over 30 sponsors, including our platinum sponsors, which are Luther King Capital Management, BNSF Railway, Frost Bank, and UBS. Thank you so much for all of your support tonight. All the net proceeds from this evening will go to the Neeley Heritage Scholarship. This new scholarship honors the many contributions Neeley alumni, faculty, and staff who have worked together over the years have helped create a premier business education experience. Proceeds from this event will enable the Neeley Heritage Scholarship to be endowed and will increase over time and be used for the education of one or more business students each year. At this time, I'd like to ask Ron Parker to join the stage. Ron is the chair of the TCU Scholarship Drive and also part of the TCU campaign. Ron, we are still tallying the contributions from tonight, but at last tally, we have contributions totaling $150,000 from just tonight's event.
Great. Fantastic. Good job.
So I'm presenting a check for at least $150,000.
That's great.
Yeah.
That is great. You want to take that? Can we cash this?
Absolutely.
That's great. Good. Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks to each of you for contributing to the next generation of business students. We have a great program tonight. We have some great awards to give out to some special people. We also have a very dynamic speaker in Bill Taylor that I'm sure everybody's going to be pleased to hear. Before dinner is served, please bow your heads with me for an invocation. Heavenly Father, we come together this evening as friends, alumni, and supporters of this great university. We are thankful for the many blessings you have brought before us, including this celebration of the Neeley School of Business, as we recognize 75 years of providing life-changing education for thousands of men and women. We ask that you continue to bless the faculty as they lead the next generation, and that you provide the wisdom to the students to carry out not only the knowledge they have gained from their experiences, but also your will. As we share a meal together, Please bless the conversation so that laughter and joy fill our spirits and this room, and bless the food so that our bodies are nourished to continue the work in which we are called. We ask these things in your name. Amen. Please enjoy your meal and the conversations. We'll reconvene with the program in about 30 minutes. It's now time for the next portion of the program, which is the awards presentation. We have some amazing people to honor tonight, the first of which is the 2011 Neeley Alumni Professor of the Year. Tonight we have the reigning 2010 Professor of the Year in attendance, and that's Dr. Bob Vigeland. Bob, thank you for being here. As most of you know, Bob is the former Department Chair and Professor of Accounting. The Neeley Alumni Professor of the Year honors a faculty member who demonstrates unsurpassed commitment and dedication to his or her students. This annual award allows alumni to pay tribute to an individual who enriched their overall experience at the Neeley School of Business. The nominees are selected by the Neeley Alumni Executive Board and voted by all Neeley alumni. Let's take a moment to learn more about the three nominees for this year.
My three favorite things that I love about Dr. Lipscomb are his dependability, his integrity, and his ability to relay real-life examples to his students.
The way he helps people. He's a helpful person. He cares about people, students, faculty, staff, whoever's around him.
The respect. If you gave her respect, she was going to give it back to you. And that makes you want to be a good student.
I needed some advice as to where I needed to go work, what I needed to do to further my professional interests, later on in life. And he introduced me to some ex-students of his that ran local real estate firms, and I worked for a couple of them while I was in school here.
She's really just a star in all facets of the job. She just has a very high standard for herself in everything that she does. So that comes through very clearly to the students. I think they know how passionate she is.
One thing I love about Dr. Lamb is that how he has changed his teaching style over the years. I've had the opportunity to go back and sit in some of his classes and see his textbook, and he's really, that textbook is so dynamic. It has changed so much in the past 20 years to really engage kids in the way they learn today.
I think the faculty at Neeley are particularly special because it's really the culture of TCU. We care about our students. We genuinely want to know something about them. We want to know how they're doing when they graduate. When they come into the Neeley School, we're going to be working with both our faculty and our staff. We're going to be working with them to build professional reputations, and it's these one-on-one interactions, I think, with faculty that make a big difference.
I graduated high school in '04, so came to TCU in '04, and the Neeley School was a great school, but it wasn't this awesome, amazing thing. It was still competing against UT. Now I feel like you want to go to the Neeley School because of its connection to the community, because of what it offers to its students, because of the mentor opportunities, because of the additional programs that it offers.
People want to be there. Our faculty want to stay there. Our alumni come back. They want to know what's going on. They want to give back and teach in the classroom and speak to students and help students to succeed and mentor students, give them jobs.
I think that Dr. Lipscomb very much deserves this award. I think it's his genuine ability to be in the minds of students and to resonate with students 5, 8, 10 years down the road that makes a difference.
I think Mary Stanford should be recognized as the Neeley Alumni Professor of the Year due to the passion that she brings both to her research as well as to the classroom with her students. And I think a package like that is uncommon a lot of times, but she seems to have the whole package.
It really comes down to that one-on-one emotional connection that he's been able to make with his students. But if Chuck wins it, it's because he's made that emotional, personal connection with his students.
The show our appreciation for all three nominees. Without further ado, the 2011 Neeley Alumni Professor of the Year is Dr. Joe Lipscomb.
They told me I have 1 minute. Thanks. Thanks, Brad. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I'm honored and I'm humbled by this award. It's an honor just to be nominated and to be on the same ballot with Chuck Lamb and Mary Stanford. TCU is a wonderful place to work and to learn, and I am very pleased to be and fortunate to be a part of it. In my 34 years on the Neeley School, I have seen this school rise to excellence. And during that time, I've had the opportunity to teach Neeley students and see them become prominent citizens, many of whom are here tonight. And you know who you are. To me, the real purpose of this award is to recognize a job done well by the entire Neeley faculty and staff, not just me. So I want to accept this award on behalf of the entire faculty and staff of the Neeley School. Thank you.
Congratulations, Joe. Our next award pays tribute to a very special company. The Alumni Business of the Year Award honors a business, either alumni-owned or having TCU alumni and executive leadership roles, with shared values and commitment to supporting TCU through employment, investment, and volunteer participation. As we all know, there are so many companies here tonight who are well-deserving of this award, and it's a difficult decision by the committee. On behalf of the dinner committee and the Neeley School, it's my pleasure to recognize Frost Bank as the first recipient of this award. For 6 generations, Frost has been committed to helping businesses and families throughout Texas prosper. What started as a small downtown San Antonio bank is now a multi-billion-dollar financial holding company. Founded in 1868, Frost is the largest Texas-based banking organization that operates only in Texas, with more than 100 financial centers. Frost has several Neeley alumni in its leadership roles and continue to help the Neeley School in many different ways, including being a key sponsor for the last 10 years of the Tandy Executive Breakfast Series. As most of you know, this series has enabled the Neeley School to bring high-level, nationally recognized business leaders to the TCU campus to share their experiences. While much has transpired over the years, the very principles and values that Frost was founded upon have not changed one bit. Let's take a moment to hear more about Frost.
I'll be as hearty of mind as I am of body. I'll be a straight shooter and a square dealer. My family name will be sacred, and my word will be as good as any contract. I remember the Alamo. I'll stick by my friends, and I'll eat more chicken fried steak. Thank you.
I taught my daughters how to change oil and everything in there.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, I didn't learn how to change oil. I should have learned how to do that, because now you go pay $25, $30 to do it.
It's kind of humid, right? It's kind of humid out there.
Yes, it is. I just
I have the same.
Wash my hair and just let it go like that.
That's what you have to do till the winter time.
Oh, my goodness, you play golf?
Twice a week.
Oh, my goodness, I can't even play golf.
Well, you should do it.
I like to drive the cart.
It keeps your motor running.
I bet it does.
Kurt Von Der Ey, a Executive Vice President of Frost Bank, will be accepting for Frost tonight. Kurt is a graduate of TCU and has been with Frost for 17 years. Kurt, if you want to come up.
Well, I would just like to say for everybody at Frost, and I'm going to have them all stand up here in just a minute, how honored we are to receive this award, especially in the 75th year, in the first year that it's been given. It's especially, great for me because I am an alumnus of here, and I'm glad we're taking some pictures because anybody I went to school with here would not believe I would be accepting an award here for anybody for anything. So it's a homecoming for me, and I really appreciate that. We do have a great relationship with the M.J. Neeley School. We do hire a lot of graduates, not just because TCU is in our backyard. We interview from every big school in the state, but we do believe that you have the same shared values that we do. And your graduates, we love the product you're producing here, Dean Erickson. Please keep it up, and we look forward to continuing our sponsorship of various programs here at TCU. I just want to have everybody that's with us tonight, these two tables, if you just stand, please. These people, most of whom are TCU graduates, help us fulfill our mission in Fort Worth. I know I've heard a lot about great professors, and I know you all are well deserving, but Stan Block, you are still the best.
Thank you, Frost Bank, for everything you do, not only for TCU, but also the Fort Worth community. Now, for our last award of the evening, I'd like to ask Homer to join us back on stage. Homer?
Tonight, we're very pleased to be able to create and name an award after a man whom we all respect and love very much, Mr. Bob Bolin. Mr. Mayor, as we will always refer to him, is a man who epitomizes the spirit of entrepreneurship and appreciates the importance of partnerships between the private and public sectors. And if you've ever attended a meeting with Bob, you know that he knows everyone in Fort Worth. And everyone admires him for being someone who always seems to leave things a little better than he found them. Join me now in sharing a bit about the life and accomplishments of Mayor Bolin.
Got out and the best job Bob and all this other was going on, he's the one that called me and said, why don't you come go to work with us? I said, what do you want me to do? And he said, well, we need more outreach for one thing. We need more people out there wearing a name on there that they're representing TCU. And I don't know, and how long do you think you want to stay? I said, I don't know. What title do you want? I don't know on that either. You're just hitting this up to me. So the next morning we got together, so I recall it, and he said, well, what title? I said, well, I haven't come up with one. He came up with that senior advisor to chancellor. And then the second deal, he came up with a deal that if you say 2-3 years, that's fine with us. We'll keep you as long as you feel good. And then if you look today, I'm 90 years, this is 19 years that we're still here for that 2 or 3 year old job that we've got. And then they gave me complete flexibility to do anything that I thought was good for the school or the university or the city. It looks like me, and I just couldn't get over that. And that's still out there now. We tease each other about it. I tease Mike all the time. I want you to get out and clean that bust off out there. How many people do you know in this city? You only got Charles Tandy and me. It's incredible. One of the others that I love because he's got such a variety is the guy up there is Gordon England. He is a brilliant guy in aviation machinery, and, building and designing aviation. What most people don't know, when he retired the first time, he went with Gordon with one of the other firms that have been part of Gordon, and they were the one that produced ships, subs and other ships. And then he ended up being Secretary of the Navy, and then he ended up being Deputy Secretary of Defense. All of those the same guy, and it's all over time. So he is certainly another one in that field.
Mayor Boland, would you just stand so we can thank you for all of your support and history of service to TCU? And now it's our honor to present the inaugural Bob Boland Civic Leadership Award this evening to the very special person that Bob referred to in the video. The Bob Boland Civic Leadership Award honors a civic or corporate leader of national stature for his or her contributions to the building and stewardship of our communities and nation. The award this evening goes to an extraordinary business leader who served twice as United States Secretary of the Navy, as the first Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security, and as Deputy Secretary of Defense in the administration of U.S. President George W. Bush. He's a Neeley graduate, served on the Neeley International Board of Visitors from 1994 through 2001, and has been a true steward to the community and to our nation. Mr. Gordon England. Please share with me in a summary of some of the accomplishments of this remarkable national leader.
Currently, Gordon England is the president of E6 Partners, LLC, a firm that conducts both international and U.S. business. The partnership has successfully assisted companies with due diligence, management strategy, and regulatory clearance of merger and acquisition deals. Mr. England was nominated on April 24, 2001 by President George W. Bush to serve as 72nd Secretary of the Navy and was sworn in on May 24, 2001. He served until January 24, 2003 when he resigned to assume the responsibilities as Deputy Secretary for Homeland Defense. Mr. England served as Executive Vice President of General Dynamics Corporation from 1997 until 2001 and was responsible for two major sectors of the corporation, information systems and international. Previously, he had served as Executive Vice President of the Combat Systems Group, President of General Dynamics Fort Worth Aircraft Company, later Lockheed, President of General Dynamics Land Systems Company, producing land combat vehicles, and is the principal of a mergers and acquisition consulting company. A native of Baltimore, he graduated from the University of Maryland in 1961 with a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. In 1975, he earned a master's degree in business administration from the Neeley School of Business. He has also been actively involved in a variety of civic and charitable organizations. including Goodwill International, where he served as Vice Chairman of the Board of Directors, the USO's Board of Governors, and as a member of the Board of Visitors at TCU and other universities. He has received numerous professional and service awards from many organizations, including the Boy Scouts of America, National Defense Industrial Association, and the National Management Association. He was selected as an IEEE Centennial Awardee and is a member of the Aviation Heritage Hall of Fame.
Before we call Mr. England to the stage, may I read a very special letter from the 43rd President of the United States, George W. Bush. Warm greetings to all those celebrating the 75th anniversary of the Neeley School of Business at Texas Christian University. I'm pleased to join you in congratulating Gordon England as he is honored with the inaugural Bob Boland Civic Leadership Award. For 8 years, Gordon England served our country with skill and energy. As the Secretary of Navy, he helped streamline our maritime forces and improve their ability to meet the new threats of the 21st century. As the first Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security, Gordon helped implement the largest reorganization of the federal government since the Cold War to better protect our citizens from further attacks. And as Deputy Secretary of Defense, he helped manage the Pentagon during a time of consequence for America. I appreciate Texas Christian University and the Neeley School of Business for recognizing a good man tonight. I applaud you on 75 years of success, and I thank you for your commitment to our community and to the future of our country. Congratulations, Gordon. Laura and I send our best wishes to you all for a memorable evening. May God bless you. Signed, George W. Bush. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Gordon England.
I hope one of those flashes works out. I actually have something in common with TCU. In 2013, we will both be 75, so this works out well, Victor, right? So, Homer, thank you very much. Actually, I have 3 minutes tonight, not 1 minute. I have 3 minutes, but one thing I've learned, and that is to be quick. In all my time in Washington, no one ever said you spoke for a time it was too short, so I've never forgotten that. Homer, thank you. Victor, thank you very much. Bob Lausch, it's great to see you again. It's good to have you back here, sir. Joe Lipscomb, congratulations. I've known Joe a long time. Congratulations, well done. I mean, well earned. And also Frost Bank. Turns out my very, very small company on my account is at Frost Bank, and so I appreciate your good work, and congratulations to Frost Bank. Also, for everyone here tonight, thank you for your support of TCU. Both financially, emotionally, and everything a lot of you do every day to make this a great university here in Fort Worth, Texas. I will tell you, in Washington, they have lots of awards, and they're named after lots of famous people, Nimitz and Eisenhower and Lincoln, and you name it. There's all these great awards. But I will tell you, it's hard to imagine an award a better award than someone named after Bob Boland. I mean, if you have an award with Bob Boland's name on it, it's got to be just one of the finest awards recognitions you can ever receive, particularly if it's in conjunction with TCU. So TCU and Bob Boland go together. You saw this on Bob Boland, back in the 80s when I was still a relatively young engineer. I mean, Bob Boland was mayor of Fort Worth. He was my hero, still is. I mean, Bob Boland, highly regarded and highly respected, not just here in Fort Worth, Texas, but literally in the state of Texas, where he had the Conference of Mayors, but also overseas with sister cities and all the initiatives he did. So I just cannot imagine a finer recognition than something named after Bob Boland and associated with TCU. And I just want to say, Bob, thank you for your great service to this community and to our nation. Also, I'm also keenly aware that in every community there are thousands, tens of thousands of people who every day do just heroic service to the community. I mean, people who come out every day and they support, you know, Meals on Wheels and their churches and their schools and their organizations. And they do it and they don't have dinners and they don't have recognitions and they don't get plaques, but they do the hard work of serving our nation here in Fort Worth, in this state, and throughout this nation. They do it just every day. And without all those volunteers and all those people doing these wonderful things, this would not be the nation we are. I'm also keenly aware that there are people throughout our nation's history for 235 years or so, people who gave their lives for our freedom. And we are here tonight because of people who made the supreme sacrifice so that we could live in freedom and liberty and have functions like this. And so I'm always extraordinarily humbled when I am personally recognized, because I realize there's just so many people who do so much and people who have given so much to communities in our nation, literally, for as long as our nation's been here. So I very, very humbly accept this award, but I accept it on behalf of all those people who do so much every day and do it without the dinners and the recognition, and all those people who serve our country, who have served our country and who are serving our country today, so that we can live in freedom and have functions like this whenever we care to do it. So to TCU, I say thank you, and Homer, I thank you. To Bob Bolin, I say thank you for your great work. This is a wonderful honor to have something in your name, Bob Bolin. And to everybody who serves our great country, I say God bless you all and God bless America. Thank you.
Again, let's thank Gordon England again for honoring us with your service and presence and all the things you've done in leadership for our country. Again, thank you very much, Gordon England. Now I'd like to introduce our Robert and Edith Schumacher Executive Fellow in Innovation and Technology and the recent recipient of the 2011 John E. Hughes Award for Entrepreneurial Advocacy, honoring his lifetime of achievement in entrepreneurship, Dr. Ray Smiler.
Thank you, Homer. Sometimes one has a chance to meet a person whose insight, experience, knowledge, and expertise is so impressive that it changes the way you think and act. I had that good fortune in 1995 when I walked into a rather creative and chaotic office in New York and met Bill Taylor. He and his partner, Alan Weber, had a radical idea. They were going to start another magazine that changed the way people thought about business. They were launching Fast Company magazine. And for those of you who know about the publishing enterprise, it's a tough business to succeed at. They started with a single premise, that they saw a global revolution that was changing business, and business was changing the world, and they wanted to analyze, assess, document, and report on exactly what was happening so that they could help organizations and creative leaders change the way they were thinking and acting. I think if there's a person who is a successor to the wisdom, the insight, and experience of a Peter Drucker today, it's really Bill Taylor. Through his books, articles, blogs, op-ed pieces, television commentaries and radios, his speaking engagements, he's off on a European tour starting next week to cities across Europe and Eastern Europe to talk about his new book. If there's somebody who brings the wisdom, insight, and breadth and depth of experience in why companies succeed and fail today, it's Bill Taylor. Bill is a talented writer and a gifted speaker, but he's also a remarkable entrepreneur. He's started and run a company. He's met the P&L requirements. He knows what it's like to make sure an enterprise succeeds. And over the years he was building Fast Company magazine, he expanded his own knowledge base. And from that we get some remarkable insights about business and enterprise, about innovation, and about leadership. Not only that, he's a terrific person. You're going to like Bill Taylor. He lives in Wellesley, Massachusetts now with his wife and his two daughters. And he travels the world providing insights about what we do and how we do it in our enterprises today. A book he wrote a couple of years ago, Mavericks at Work, Why the Most Original Minds in Business Win, was named a New York Times and Wall Street Journal Best Book of the Year. It was also named Business Book of the Year by The Economist and the Financial Times. Mavericks at Work is a terrific book. His newest book is called Practically Radical, and it combines what's important to build. He wants innovation, but you better be able to apply it and use it now. That's Practically Radical. The subtitle is Not So Crazy Ways to Transform Your Company, Shake Up Your Industry, and Challenge Yourself. One of the interesting things I love about this book is his new philosophy of leadership, in which he combines humility with ambition. And I find that value system reflects wonderfully with the Neeley School and Texas Christian University. The book has been called a number of things. The most powerful and instructive change manual you'll ever read. Another set of handbook for successful transformation, and a great tutorial for implementing your change needs. I've liked it because it gives me some insights on leadership I just didn't have before. He writes a regular business column for the New York Times, as well as a monthly column for London's Guardian newspaper, and he now writes a popular blog for the Harvard Business Review. His ideas are everywhere. You know, something else about Bill. All of you tonight are helping build this great school and this university by giving back. Bill does too. This morning he gave a talk to Alcoa in Pittsburgh. He got paid a hefty fee for that. But when we asked him to do this, he didn't hesitate. I'll be here because he believes in business education, and his presentation night is his contribution to this 75th anniversary. We're grateful for that, Bill. He's a graduate of Princeton University and the MIT Sloan School of Management. Would you please join me in welcoming a really remarkable guy, Bill Taylor.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Gordon, as they say in Washington, I cede my time to Ray Smiler. Oh my goodness, what a fabulous introduction. It is really a thrill to be here tonight. I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting quite this much spirit, and the spirits ain't half bad either. I'm always a little relieved when I give a talk and I see lots of beer and wine on the table. I've learned over the years, the more you drink, the smarter I sound, so please feel free to finish with that. We're here to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the Neeley School, but just indulge me for just a minute as I mark a different anniversary. Ray said it, we started Fast Company, we celebrated the 15th anniversary last year, and so I was thinking a lot about the early days, and it occurred to me that at the very beginning of the magazine, just as I was meeting Ray actually, we convened a conference around the theme, how do you overthrow a successful company? Now, it wasn't a gathering of internet hotshots eager to take on the business establishment. That was kind of our target audience. It was a gathering of leaders and innovators from illustrious big organizations, organizations that had been around for decades, organizations that were doing absolutely fine, but who sensed that there were massive changes on the horizon, and who were worried about whether they and their colleagues had the urgency enough to reckon with what was coming at them and whether or not they could figure out how to unleash the new waves of growth and opportunity. And that was 1995. And here we are now, 16 years later, and the more I learn about the intellectual agenda of the Neeley School, it strikes me that the school, and all of you in the room, are in some sense wrestling with that very same question. And that's because the work of making meaningful, deep-seated change, sustaining success and unleashing innovation over the long term, really is the hardest work in the world. But that's the work all of you have signed up for. That's what it means to be a leader today. That's what it means to be an educator today. And that's what I want to talk about very briefly tonight. How to do something important and build something great. How to unleash long-lasting change in fast-moving times. So here goes. And let me just start with the kind of big picture. We are living today in the age of disruption. You can't do big things anymore if you're content with doing things a little bit better than everybody else or a little bit differently from how you've done them in the past. In an era of hyper-competition and non-stop reinvention, and every industry represented in this room is going through that, The only way to stand out from the crowd is to stand for something special. Originality has become the acid test of strategy. That, to borrow a phrase, is what I think business not as usual means. Now, the language I use is strategy is advocacy. Winning organizations today don't just offer competitive products and services. They stand for important ideas. Ideas that are meant to shape the competitive landscape of their field. Ideas that are meant to reshape the sense of what's possible for customers, for employees, for investors. For so long, we lived in a world where the strong took from the weak. If you had the biggest facilities, or the deepest pockets, or the leading market share, you won almost by default. That world has gone away. We now live in a world where the smart take from the strong. The most successful organizations in any field don't just try to outcompete their rivals. They aspire to redefine the terms of competition in their industry by embracing one-of-a-kind ideas in a world filled with Me Too thinking. Here is kind of the core of the message of this new book, and I really sense it so alive in this room tonight. It's just not good enough anymore as a company, as a school, as an individual leader to be pretty good at everything. You've got to figure out one way or another, how do you become the most of something, the most exclusive, the most affordable, the most elegant, the most simple, the most utterly global, the most intensely local. For each of you, that most of something choice will be different. But for so long, so many of us got used to a world where we felt comfortable operating in the middle of the road. That's, in theory, where all the customers were, the great American middle class. That's what felt safe and secure. But today, especially today, with so much change, so much pressure, so many new ways to do just about everything, the middle of the road has become the road to nowhere. And the question for everybody, and I think the folks at the Neeley School are wrestling with this in such an impressive way, the question is, what are you the most of in your field, and how do you every day try to become even more of that? Now let me show you what this looks like in the real world. It's funny, I gave a dinner talk a month, I've got a new career as an after-dinner speaker, I don't do this all that often, but a dinner talk a month or two ago, wonderful gala celebration in Detroit at the Henry Ford Health System. Classic, I mean, talk about how do you over the, started in 1915 by Henry Ford himself. And it's this big honking hospital in the middle of downtown Detroit. And talk about, you know, a tough, healthcare is in crisis. Detroit is in crisis. Talk about how do you overthrow a long-established organization. And I write about them in the book, and what Henry Ford has done at this hospital is truly remarkable, slashing mortality rates at the hospital. So you actually have a fairly decent chance if you walk in as a patient that you'll actually walk out alive, which the more you learn about hospitals, the percentages there aren't that great, I have to say. When it comes to sort of best practices, total quality, incremental improvement, they're doing a wonderful, wonderful job. But the real story, what's impressive for this group here, is what's happening 15 miles outside the city at a new hospital they built from scratch a few years ago called Henry Ford West Bloomfield. And Nancy Schlichting, the CEO of the Henry Ford Systems, for the first time since 1915, they got a chance to build a new hospital. And he said, well, and again, it's so evocative of talking to Homer and Ray and everybody. So he said, look, if we're going to build this thing with a blank sheet of paper, we've also got to use a blank sheet of paper mindset. We've got to go back and ask ourselves, what can a hospital look like today? What could the experience of visiting a hospital feel like today? What could the role of a hospital be in the community? And the result is, and opened about 2 years ago, I've been there several times, the result is this, probably the most incredible medical facility I've ever seen in my life. So the Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital. It's built on 160 acres of woodlands and wetlands. It resembles a northern Michigan vacation lot. It's all wood and sloping roofs. You walk in, no sterile hospital. All the hallways are cobblestone. There's a farmer's market in the main atrium. There's a day spa for patients and their families. There's a concierge who helps you with your errands and your dry cleaning, whatever the case may be. There's high tea at 4 p.m. every afternoon. They actually have a tea sommelier who goes room to room trying to persuade people that it really is incredibly helpful to drink certain kinds of tea. The food is to die for, pun intended. They work with a chef called Matt Prentice, a kind of a celebrity chef in Ann Arbor, Michigan. They've got 2,000 recipes, kosher, halal, organic, gluten-free. It's like 4-star cuisine. In fact, the place is, and this kind of blows my mind, the place is so beautiful and the food is so good. This Labor Day weekend, they're going to host their first wedding. Somebody in Detroit likes this place. They now do a $1 million a year business catering functions like this. Nonprofit groups, universities will hire the hospital to serve their, now people are paying big money for hospital food. It's completely insane, right? And so you go there and it feels more like a world-class hotel than it does a traditional hospital. And there's a reason for it. The CEO of this hospital, who Nancy hired several years before they broke ground on it, is a guy named Gerard Van Grinsven, who's a senior executive of the Ritz-Carlton hotel chain. And Nancy said to herself, and I think this is such an important leadership insight, we know all there is to know about surgery and cancer treatment and medical research. But for all that experience, we know almost nothing about how to treat people right and how to create an experience that puts you at ease rather than makes you nervous. And we can't let what we know as medical professionals limit what we can imagine as we try to create this new space. And it was a very controversial choice. How do you go from the world of hospitality as a leader to the world of hospitals? But what they have pulled off there is absolutely amazing. So I went out, and it's still kind of controversial in the community. One columnist in Detroit actually said hospital food should taste bad because if it's too good, people are going to want to stay for too long. And it was just absolute silliness, of course. But what Nancy said to the doubters is, we don't think it's radical to do something this radical. We think it's logical to do something this radical. How can you look at the situation in our field, healthcare, and say that incremental improvement is really the answer? It's logical to go radical. Now, it seems to me there are a lawful lot of fields about which you, including maybe higher education, about which you could make that very same insight. In other words, Henry Ford West Bloomfield, and I see this in so many of the organizations around about, it's more than just a hospital. It's a cause. Just like I have such a sense of Neeley as a cause. It stands for something special, something memorable, something truly original in a field where most other organizations are kind of indistinguishable from one another. And that, I would submit to you, really is the beginnings of leadership today. The only sustainable form of business leadership is thought leadership. So I'm sure there are a gazillion industries represented in the room. Take a minute and put aside for a moment the products or services or technologies around which you've built your businesses and ask yourself, what are the ideas that define how we do business and that distinguish us from how everybody else in our field does business? That's when you really get at what it means to be a leader. Let me put it slightly differently. You know, with all of the pressures and turmoil and challenges in the world today, so many of us spend so much of our time wrestling with that age-old, it's kind of a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason, that age-old question, what keeps you up at night? What are the problems and worries that nag at you, like building a $100 million football stadium? I think the much more powerful question isn't what keeps you up at night, but what gets you up in the morning? What makes you and your colleagues more excited than ever, more creative than ever, more determined than ever, in a world which, let's be honest, on most days feels more threatening and uncertain than ever? And this is maybe in the last few years the lesson I have learned and relearned during this long economic crisis. It's great when companies or organizations think differently than everybody else. And I love that when I see it. But to me, what you've also got to do, and it's going to sound a little hokey, I know, but again, I sense it in the room and in these videos tonight. When you really win big is when, quite honestly, you care more than everybody else about your customers, about your colleagues, about how the organization operates in a world with so many opportunities every single day to cut corners and compromise on values. You can't be special, distinctive, compelling in the marketplace or the marketplace of ideas unless you also create something special, compelling, distinctive in the workplace. Your strategy is your culture. Your culture is your strategy. Or to borrow a phrase, it's more than business, it's personal. It really and truly is. This is the insight that fundamentally makes the world go round. One of the companies I spent years studying is Pixar Animation Studios. Not because I've got 2 young kids and they love the movies. I think Pixar, more than any company I've ever met, understands the connection between strategy, success in the marketplace, their talent, and their culture. And it's an amazing story, and I'm sure most of us know it. You know, starts in 1980. Steve just flails around for a while. Steve Jobs buys it in 1985 for $10 million. And Pixar releases Toy Story. And thus begins the single greatest commercial and critical juggernaut in the history of movie making. And they've done 11 movies now, 11 blockbusters, 11 critical hits. Their revenue per film is greater than the revenue per film of any movie studio in the history of the world. Steve Jobs bought it for $10 million. As you know, he sold it to Disney a few years ago for $7.6 billion. That's a pretty nice deal. But to me, what's important is that what I sense so deeply is Pixar's movies work in the marketplace because of how the company thinks about the workplace. And any of you who know Hollywood understand this is the ultimate land of the individual star, the free agent, the self-motivated mover and shaker. In fact, for a lot of years, business pundits like me and even Peter Drucker, to be honest, looked at Hollywood and said, wow, this is the business model of the future. We're all going to become specialists. We're all going to become free agents. And we'll all coalesce around a deal or a project or an idea, and we'll do our work, and then we'll disband, and we'll all go on to the next thing. Pixar looked at it and said, wow, that's a really terrible way to make movies. By the time you're done making a movie, you've just gotten to know what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, how do we work back together. So we're going to create a completely alternative model to that. We're going to get a bunch of wildly talented individuals, but we're going to figure out how, we're going to figure out how to do art as a team sport. We want everybody to stay for their whole career, to work together, to have loyalty not just to the company, but loyalty to one another. And they have figured out how to really embrace not just the art, but the science of teamwork in a movie studio. And the heart of teamwork at Pixar, which is why I want to talk about it tonight, is an incredible organization they have called Pixar University. And as great as Neeley is and as great as TCU is, they've got an incredible campus in Emeryville for Pixar University. They have 110 different courses they teach. And every single employee at Pixar, from the president and CEO to literally the security guard who sits in the booth when you pull onto the lot, or the administrative assistant who greets you, every single employee spends 4 hours a week taking classes at Pixar University. And they have classes on screenwriting and drawing and directing and lighting and shading. In fact, when I visited about a year ago, I sat in a 4-hour class on drawing. And it was me, and it was a senior vice president of the company. It was a couple of 20-something kids with earrings who were web programmers, and it was Chef Luigi. They have an incredible, Chef Luigi who does the company cafeteria there, and it was the chief tax accountant for the company. And there were so many young people who were excited about being accountants, so that caught my eye. And we spent 4 hours, and it was amazing what happened. I don't have a creative bone in my body. By the end of it, I walked out. I could actually draw a vase, and it's pretty darn well, actually. And it was a blast for me. But at the end, I talked to the dean. They have a dean of Pixar University, Randy Nelson. I went up to the dean of Pixar. I got to ask you, I mean, I know you guys make a lot of money, but, and again, no no disrespect to the financial professional in the audience, but what is the business case for teaching an accountant how to draw? I just don't get that at all. What's this about exactly? And he said, well, obviously, we don't really care about how well our accountants can draw. We're trying to do a bunch of different things. First of all, we're trying to create a shared mindset. We want, what do we do here? We make films. We need every single person in the organization to understand how filmmakers think and how to see the world through the eyes of a filmmaker. So if you expose yourself to drawing, and you expose yourself to screenwriting, and you expose yourself to directing, you're going to do a much better job in your discipline being responsible to our needs because you've got this holistic mindset. You have a sense, at least, of what it feels like to think like a filmmaker. Second thing is we're trying to give people a new skill set. We don't really care if our accountants or our marketers can draw, but when you teach somebody to draw, what you're really doing is you're teaching them to be more observant. And particularly for our tax accountants, we'd like them to be extremely observant. So we think we're really giving them a valuable skill. But the most important thing they're teaching is they're giving an entirely new point of view on the future. And this really stuck with me, and I think it's really so relevant to what schools of business do. They said, look we're Pixar. We got 5,000 people. They're all interesting. It's no big deal to have lots of talented people who are interesting. The real gift, the real challenge for us is to figure out how to make sure all those interesting people stay interested. Interested in each other. Interested in new ideas. Interested in both the enduring mission of the enterprise and all kinds of new ways to make that mission come to life. And it strikes me that that's in a very basic way the role of TCU in general, and certainly the role of the Neeley School in particular. You've got all these interesting people, interesting 20-year-olds and interesting folks for getting their executive education, and your job here, and your job as leaders in all of your organizations, is to figure out how do we keep our interesting people interested in the world around them, interested in asking all kinds of new questions that will help us look at our field in new ways. I mean, let's face it, most organizations in most fields have a kind of tunnel vision. Everybody is chasing after the same opportunities everybody else is chasing after, and everybody is missing the same opportunities that are hidden in plain sight if only they could look at the world a little bit differently. The companies that win big today, the institutions that win big today, are the ones that see a different game. And the role of leadership today, the job of everybody in this room, is to help your organization see things that other organizations simply don't see. The term I like to use for this, and I'm a little bit shy at a wonderful university like this, boring Leghorns from the late great comedian George Carlin, but in the 70s he had a stand-up routine, probably under the influence of psychedelic drugs or something, and he used to talk about how he loved to have a sense of vujade. What's vujade? Vujade is, as he explained it, the opposite of deja vu. So we all know deja vu. My first time on the TCU campus, I come into this room, these purple lights. Wow, I feel like I've been here before. Suddenly, somehow the unfamiliar seems familiar. Vujade is the opposite of that. Can you look at an industry you've worked in for your entire career? Can you look at a problem or a set of customers you've been working on for years and years and somehow look at it as if you've never seen it before? Can you take the familiar and somehow make it seem unfamiliar, and with that new set of eyes, can you develop a whole new line of sight into the future? It goes back to Henry Ford, and how do you make sure that what you know doesn't limit what you can imagine? And that, to me, creates a whole new job description for the leader. I mean, we all love new ideas. We all love innovation. It's the whole spirit of the night. The question is, where do new ideas come from exactly? Well, my argument to you is today, in the world we live in today, they can come from anyone in the world and anywhere in the world if you as an organization, if you as a leader are smart and confident enough to ask for them. And this is a big leadership mindset. For so long, the theory was if you're the chancellor, if you're the dean, if you're the CEO of the bank, if you're running the marketing team, if there was a problem to be solved, you had to solve it. If there was an opportunity to be identified, you had to identify it. You did the thinking, and the troops did the work. You had to be, quote unquote, the smartest person in the room, whatever room. And that was both the burden, but also kind of the ego gratification of being a leader. Well, those days are over. The most effective leaders I have gotten to know say to themselves, what does it mean to be a leader in a world where nobody alone is as smart as everybody together? They don't want the job anymore of trying to think for everybody else. What they say to themselves is, they don't say to themselves, I've got this great idea. What's my top-down style of communication to push it through the ranks? They say to themselves, I need a great idea. What's my architecture of participation so I can tap into the hidden genius of colleagues all over my organization, in the collective genius of all the customers and suppliers and partners and interested people who surround my organization, so that together, this group mind can come up with ideas and insights and solutions that the individual mind, no matter how gifted, could possibly come up with. Nobody alone is as smart as everybody together. I'll tell you one last quick story because it involves my business school, MIT Sloan, and then we can adjourn for the evening. There's a guy I've become really friendly with by the name of Rob McEwen. And Rob McEwen is CEO of it'll take me a minute to get to the Sloan School, but CEO of a gold mining company in Canada called Goldcorp, not a particularly original name for a gold mining company. Rob wasn't always CEO of this company. For many, many years, he was on Wall Street, was one of the masters of the universe at Merrill Lynch, probably helped create some of the weapons of financial mass destruction that got us in the mess we're just trying to get our way out of. But he said to himself, you know what, if I strike it rich on Wall Street, I'm not Mark Cuban, I don't want to buy a basketball team. He's Canadian, I don't want to buy a hockey team either. I want to buy a gold mine. Why buy a gold mine? Well, because for generations, his family in Canada had been very prominent financiers in the gold mine. He wanted to go back to the family business. So he was at Merrill Lynch for a bunch of years. He retired, fabulously wealthy. And several years ago, lo and behold, this gold mine comes up for sale in Canada. Now, good news is the gold mine came up for sale. Came up for sale for $50 million, which sounds like a lot, but in the world of gold mine, it's a pretty reasonable price. Kind of the bad news is there's an 18-hour drive north of Toronto. So if it's not the end of the world, you could see the end of the world. I mean, I went up there. This is like one place you do not want to spend a lot of time in. But even though that was great, but the trouble was, the reason the mine was up for sale, and the reason it was up for sale, the reason the price was, it was a laughingstock among gold mines all around the world. When Rob bought this mine, it was a few years ago now, it cost him $370 to get an ounce of gold out of the ground. This was before the crazy run-up of gold. Gold at the time he bought it was selling for $300 an ounce. We're at a business school event. You know, the old joke, we make it up in volume. That doesn't really work in this, doesn't really work. That's just a really bad business. But Rob said, you know what? This dumb family has owned this mine for 50 years, and they're not very bright, and I'm a master of the universe, so I'm going to hire a bunch of crackerjack geologists, and we're going to find gold where nobody else had found it before. And so he set up beautiful offices in Toronto, got all the supercomputers working, started drilling the holes, and I don't know if any of you know about gold mining, but you got to drill a mile below the ground before you even get started. Cost you $3 or $4 million every time you drill, and they were just drilling like crazy. A year went by, 2 years went by, still $370 to get the gold out of the ground. Gold hadn't begun to run, and it was just a disaster. So rather than drowning his sorrows in the Caribbean, which were, if I were here, that's what I would have done, he came to MIT Sloan, which is where I met him. And I'm very involved as an alumnus of the school, and he enrolled in a week-long kind of executive ed course on the internet, open source software, and Linux. Now, I'm not going to bore you. In 20 seconds or less, we can't have the internet without all these computer programs that the young people here know about, but none of the rest of us do, that are what make the internet go. And no company owns them, and no single programmer wrote. There are all these kind of ragtag volunteers all around the world, and they volunteer their time, and they write all this code, and they share their code, and they put it all together, and they've created all these pieces of software, literally without which we could not have the internet. It's an amazing kind of sociological, anthropological phenomenon. Now, Rob is in there, Monday and Tuesday. He's like, oh my God, my hair hurts. I should go to, Aruba and get drunk. What a ridiculous way to spend my time. And then, because he put himself in an uncomfortable situation, eventually the light bulb went on. And he went running back to Toronto, and he gathered his geologists. He said, guys, you can't believe what I just saw down there in Cambridge. We are going to do for gold mining what Linux and open source software have done for the internet. These guys are all computer nerds, so they said to him, boss, we know what you're talking about, but what the heck are you talking about? And he said, we're gonna take all of the data we have on this mine, 55 years of where we've drilled, what we found, chemical composition, soil samples. We're going to put it all up on the internet. And we're going to invite geologists and mineral engineers from all around the world to download that data, run it through their computers, and they're going to tell us where we should mine for gold. And he said he looked at them and he could see the blood kind of draining from their face. And he said, well, a couple questions, boss. Why would anybody ever, this is not like, here's a cocktail napkin, drill over there. I think this is weeks and months of number crunching. And why would anybody do this? Well, first of all, we're going to have a contest. We're going to have a $500,000 grand prize. And we're going to have a panel of esteemed academic judges. And $500 even for gold miners ain't beanbag. But beyond that, the gold mining business, just like so many, it's kind of closed. Everybody kind of knows everybody else. And whoever wins this is going to become kind of a celebrity. He was kind of creating American Idol for gold miners before American Idol was hot. Second thing they said was, but boss, how can we guard this data with our lives? Our firewalls have firewalls. This is so proprietary. This is like Coca-Cola. You know what? Here's what we put in the Coke. Don't worry about it. We're going to share the recipe with the world. And he said, well, yeah, we've been incredibly secretive with this over the years. But why? That's because you go back to the 19th century. And what was gold mining in the 19th century? You get a mule, you get a pickaxe, you're going down a creek, and if you see somebody is following you is gonna steal your gold, you shoot them dead because you don't want them to jump your claim. But the Red Lake mine is 55,000 acres. You drill a mile into the ground before you even hit rock. Who's going to steal the gold? Even if they know where it is, nobody can take it from us. I mean, we're walking around with this absurdly obsolete mindset. But don't so many of us walk around with absurdly obsolete mindsets? But here's the kicker. They said, well, if we do this, won't the rest of the world think that you, Rob, think that we're really quite stupid? Because that's what we've been after this for 3 years. We spent tens of millions of dollars, and now we're kind of, a la Sting and the police. We're sending out an SOS to the world and helping everybody to help. It's kind of embarrassing. And Rob said, well, we can look at the mirror and say maybe we're not as smart as we thought we were. But think about it differently. What's wrong with being part of a company where smart people all around the world want to help us succeed? Now, he was the owner, so he was going to do it no matter what they said, but he wanted their buy. He got them to buy into it. They did the contest, and it was an absolute revelation. 1,400 geologists from 51 different countries that downloaded the data. They got detailed submissions. I mean, these are like, just megabytes of data and techniques from 140 geologists from 18 different countries. The stuff started coming in, and Rob was falling off. Ideas they had never dreamed of, places to look, ways to drill. In fact, it was so good, they gave out 3 $500,000 prizes. That one. First one went to a 2-person team in Perth, Australia. Had never been to Canada, never met Rob, never even worked in the gold mining business. They were gurus of oil and gas exploration, and they thought their software could work on his data, and it did. Second one, my favorite, academic, chairman of the geology department at Moscow State University. Rob calls them Alexander Yakubchuk. Rob calls him, Professor Yakubchuk, great news, you won $500,000 in the Gold Corp Internet Gold Rush. He says, oh my goodness, thank you so much, but whatever you do, don't wire the money to Moscow. I've got a secret account in London. This is the break I've been waiting for. Send it to London, and I'm getting my family out of here. And I actually met the guy. I met the guy a couple of years ago. At the time, he was the chairman of the geology department of the British Museum of Natural History. So it really did kind of change this guy's life. But for our purposes, what's important is that it changed Rob's life and the fate of his company. Remember I told you Red Lake Mine was a laughing stock of the world. Red Lake Mine is now universally recognized as the single richest gold mine anywhere in the world. It used to cost Rob $370 an ounce. Now it costs him $50 an ounce to get the gold out of the ground. And gold, as we all know, has gone up to over $1,000 an ounce. That mine he bought for $50 million several years ago is now a publicly traded company with a market cap, last time I checked, of $16 billion. And Rob, too bad he didn't go to TCU. He's endowing things at the University of Toronto, medical centers and hospitals. And he's just become one of Canada's great philanthropists. So it's a fun story, but think about the morals of the story on a smaller scale. As you think about what does it mean to be a leader, what does it mean to be an innovator today, here's what I take away from that. First of all, you got to stop thinking of yourselves as problem solvers and start thinking of yourself as solution finders. And assume that whatever thing is bugging you that day, or probably somebody in your organization or a friend of your organization has already figured out how to solve that problem. And your job as a leader isn't to sit in your office and grit your teeth and have smoke coming out of your ears. It's to cast as wide a net as you can for all the hidden, untapped genius that's all around you. Second big piece of the puzzle is people don't have to work for you anymore in order to work with you. And I think TCU is obviously doing a great job of this, but there are so many people in so many walks of life who are so smart, so talented, so eager to show what they know, and so interested in what you're doing, even if they're not a customer or supplier of yours, that if you invite them into your organization and say, hey, share with us a little bit of your brain power and make it interesting and fun for them to do that, you will be amazed by the energy you can tap into. And last but not least, and Ray alluded to this in the introduction, you've really got to become the kind of leader that other smart people want to work with and rally around. The kind of work that Homer and the Chancellor and all of you folks are doing it. You can't order people top down. It's Monday. I want a great killer idea by Tuesday at noon, or don't come to work on Wednesday. I mean, this kind of breakthrough thinking doesn't happen from top-down edicts. It happens from bottom-up, almost voluntary energy and contribution. And that only happens when you're the kind of person that other smart people want to work with. And the term that IBM, probably more reputable source than George Carlin, the term that IBM coined to define this is humbition. The most effective leaders they've seen over the years in their organizations are leaders who have genuine ambition. Ambition for themselves personally, ambition for the organization. They want to have an impact. They want to leave a legacy. There's nothing wrong with that. But they also have genuine humility. They understand that just because they want to leave that legacy, they're not the only person who's going to drive that kind of impact. Genuine humility about who's going to help, how they can get other people to help. And so to me, the most effective leaders are the most ambitious leaders. And hopefully that spirit of ambition will help you wrestle with, I think at the end of the day, the one question, the only question maybe, that really matters, both for leaders and for educators, and to be honest, for your students. I think this is a deal you make with them when you sign up and then you do the handshake, and it's the world of lifelong learning. And the question is, are you learning as fast as the world is changing? That's what I think we all sign up for when we take positions of responsibility in an organization. The job isn't anymore to urge people to out-hustle or out-muscle the competition. It is to urge and help people to outthink the competition every single day. And if you can get the best ideas from the most people, then I think you've got the best chance to outthink the competition every single day. So thank you so much for letting me be part of this evening, and happy anniversary. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.
Go walk way up.
A parting gift.
A parting gift is a small token.
Thank you so much. Really, thank you very much for inviting me home. I really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Bill, thank you for helping us to think, not just inspiring us, but helping us to think differently. As business leaders, as deans, as chancellor, and we're going to take it to heart and go with it. We've kicked this thing off. We've celebrated some tonight, had some award winners, celebrated some good times together. But after the kickoff, it takes special teams, and that's all of us in this room. So we invite you to join with the Neeley School and TCU over the next 2 years as we move towards that 75th anniversary. We're about doing something very special, and we're doing it for our students. We're doing it for Fort Worth and well beyond. So please join us. And 2 years from tonight, we're going to have the 75th anniversary of the Neeley School, and we hope to see all of you here, and have a good night. Thank you.